Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's training about Mediasite and Mediasite orientation. We've got Brandon Utech with us, and as we rapidly transition to these various remote teaching modes, we want to encourage you to keep things as simple as possible. This session is going to focus on practical steps that you can implement right away. And if you have additional questions after today's session, I have dropped some links into the chat box, and Brandon has got some information up here on the screen. I encourage you to keep going back out to the K-State Keep Teaching Training Sessions page, as we're adding more sessions all the time based off of input from individuals who need some additional information. We're going to try to mute everyone here as they come into the training, just to kind of keep things so that Brandon can keep things moving on. We had a really large session yesterday with this training. It is being recorded, and as soon as the videos are able to be rendered and put up, they'll be posted on the website. So if you want to go back and re-listen to them again, you certainly can. If you'd use the chat feature to send questions in, that would be helpful. Then as we get kind of towards the end and Brandon starts to wrap up his presentation, we'll circle back and answer those questions and try to get to those. And, you know, if Brandon has time, he'll open the mics up for people. So I don't want to take any more time. I know that this is some pretty in-depth information and you all would rather hear Brandon talk than me. So I'm going to throw it to you, Brandon.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you, Janice, for that introduction and for doing the moderation duties today. It's when you start getting into presentations of this size with this many attendees, it's really nice to just have that person there to sort of man the chat and to walk people through the presentation or the orientation to the presentation itself. So thank you to Janice. Thank you for all of you joining today. I'm sure you have many questions about Mediasite, and I'm hoping to leave plenty of time at the end for those. I know in our session on Monday, we went about how long I expected as far as the presentation went, but our question and answer session went about twice as long as I thought it would go. So it's good that people will have those questions, and like Janice said, if you want to throw those into the chat at any point during the presentation, we'll try to address those questions at the end. So yeah, once again, I'm Brandon Utech. I'm an instructional media administrator in information technology services at Kansas State. And this presentation is designed to get you up and running quickly with Mediasite in Canvas. So with that, we'll jump into the first slide here. And the first question obviously is, what is Mediasite? Some of you are brand new, you may not have ever visited or been into the Mediasite interface, and some of you may have only heard the name Mediasite in passing. So Mediasite is K-State's centrally supported video hosting platform, and it serves three primary functions. The first function it serves is simply capture, so creating media. It allows you to, for example, record your desktop screen and your webcam using the Mediasite Desktop Recorder. We'll demo that here in just a little bit. If we were on campus and holding classes in classroom spaces, there are also Mediasite hardware recorders in various classrooms throughout campus where you could do a traditional lecture capture of your classroom activities. You could also do a simple video upload. So take a file that you already have, say it was something you created in Camtasia or something like, for example, if you recorded your Zoom meeting, you could then upload that MP4 file into Mediasite. So there are various ways to capture and create content and then put it into Mediasite where you can keep it all in one place. The second function that Mediasite serves is the management function. So once you get all of that content uploaded into Mediasite, then you can do things like organize it into user channels or shared folders. You can edit the presentation by changing when the presentation starts or where it ends, or cutting pieces out of the middle. You can also look at your presentation analytics, which is information about how students are watching your videos in Mediasite. So lots of different management functions within Mediasite to keep your content organized and relevant to your students. Finally, The third thing that Mediasite does for us is it provides that streaming delivery platform to actually stream the videos to the students on their desktops or their tablets. If they have a smartphone, any device that has a modern web browser is capable of streaming Mediasite content without any plugins required. So that's a brief overview of what Mediasite is. I'm going to do a little bit of expectation setting for this presentation today. First, just to acknowledge there are lots of features in Mediasite and it can be used in many different ways. That's not this presentation. This is more of a bare bones, get you up and running quickly, show you a couple of ways to get content into Mediasite and into Canvas. So I'm not going to be going through all the different bells and whistles. If you're looking for how to do in-video quizzing or add closed captions, maybe you're looking at how to view your analytics data and interpret it. That's not something I'm going to cover in today's presentation, but you can go out to the K-State Mediasite website. And so it's kstate.edu/Mediasite, and there will be all manner of helpful video tutorials. We have written how-to documents that have step-by-step instructions for many of the things we're talking about today, but also many of the more advanced functions. And if you're really brave, we even have webinars that do full deep dives into topics in Mediasite. So that's just a plug for the Mediasite website. When you need help or when you want to continue your training and education with Mediasite, go to this site, kstate.edu/Mediasite. The other expectation setting thing I want to do today is just to tell you that this presentation is, I'm going to try to deliver it slowly, but I'm probably not going to be going slowly enough that you can follow along click for click. So the intent of this orientation today is to simply get you up to speed with the concepts of Mediasite and knowing what things are. And then what you can do is after this recording is posted, you can go back and follow along step by step and pause the video as you need to. But we had some feedback yesterday that, man, I'm just going too fast. I can't keep up. What did you click again? I'm trying to install the desktop recorder. My hope today is that you really just focus on my screen today and then go back and watch it on demand or use the help resources at kstate.edu/Mediasite to sort of actually implement Mediasite in your Canvas course at your own pace. So having said that, let's talk about the agenda and what we will discuss today. So we're not going through all of the features of Mediasite, but we are going to touch on, for example, how to get to the My Mediasite portal, which is where you go to manage your Mediasite content. We'll then talk about how you would organize your Mediasite content. So we'll create a channel, which is a type of folder that you can use to organize content for your course. We'll talk about how to add that channel into your Canvas course so your students can see your Mediasite content in Canvas. Then we'll talk about installing the Mediasite Desktop Recorder software and perform our first screen capture recording of our screen as well as our webcam. And then finally, we'll talk about another way to get content into Mediasite, which is to simply upload an existing video file into your channel. So let's start out with the basics. How do I get to this Mediasite portal? If you're using Canvas, the easiest way to get into the My Mediasite portal is through your Canvas course. So I'm going to go to kstate.instructure.com. And once I log in with my EID and my password, I'm going to be delivered to this page. This is the Canvas dashboard where all of your Canvas courses will be housed. And what we'll want to do is go into our course to get to the My Mediasite portal. If you don't see your course in the dashboard, you can click on Courses in the left column. And for example, I want to go to my K-State 101 course. That's the sample course I'm going to be using for today's demos. So I'll click there. This brings me to the home page for my course. So we're in Canvas, but we're not yet in Mediasite. To get to your My Mediasite portal, there's this navigation link down here toward the middle. It may be in a different location depending on how you've organized all of your navigation links, but you're looking for the one that says My Mediasite. This takes you to the portal where you manage your media. So I'll point out that this link is not visible to students in your course because your My Mediasite portal is where you go to manage the content. It's not where students go to view the content. We'll talk about how students actually view the content in just a little bit. But just know that the My Mediasite link here in the navigation is only available to teacher and TA roles in Canvas. So I'll click on My Mediasite, and we'll see that the Mediasite portal loads directly inside of your Canvas course. So really that's all there is as far as getting to the My Mediasite portal. You just go into your course, and then in the navigation, select My Mediasite, and you'll be brought to the Mediasite portal. So that's accessing the Mediasite portal. The next thing we'll want to do is we'll want to create some form of organization for our Canvas content, or for our Mediasite content in our Canvas course. So I need to say organized in Mediasite. So I'm going to come back to the My Mediasite portal, and we're going to use something called channels. But let me first sort of talk about the interface and how this is laid out. So you see right now, by default, we were delivered to this section called My Presentations. So this is simply a list in Mediasite of everything that you own as far as Mediasite presentations. It's not any particular channel, any particular folder. It's just simply everything that you own. There's a second folder down here called My Drafts. So My Drafts, think of that as your default folder in Mediasite. If you don't specify a publishing destination when you upload your content into Mediasite, chances are it's going to end up in your My Drafts folder. We'll talk about channels here in just a second, but I do want to mention the concept of shared folders. So a shared folder is another type of organizational folder in Mediasite. They're set up administratively, and they allow multiple instructors to collaborate on a single Mediasite folder. So if you are teaching a course with multiple instructors, they all need to be adding content to the folder. If you go to the K-State Mediasite website, again, that's kstate.edu/Mediasite, you will see a link there to request a shared folder, and just fill out the form, and we'll get a shared folder set up for your course. For today's demo, and what you can do on your own without any administrative intervention, is if you can go to the channels here. So I'm going to click on channels. And just a quick program note, if you are messaging me privately in chat right now, I am not watching chat right now because I am delivering the presentation. So if you could work with Janice Nickel on any technical issues you may be having with Zoom, she'll be happy to sort of help you out there, but I'm going to have to proceed on here. So, but thank you for your efforts there. So I'm in my channels. So your channels are more like your personal folders. So you can keep yourself organized in Mediasite. So what I want to do for my course, I just want to create a channel for my course. So right now you see I don't have any channels. I'm going to go up to Add Channel. And there are a lot of options here. You don't really need to worry about filling out any of them except the channel name. So for our purposes today, we'll just say KST 101. That's my course number. So K-State 101. And I'll click Create Channel. This is going to create a folder in my Mediasite portal that I can use to upload content into. So here I can now see my K-State 101 channel. I see there's no content in it currently. We'll add some content here in just a moment, but at least now I have some place. If I go back to my channels, I can see the channel list now. I have this K-State 101 channel folder. So this is where I'm going to put my content. So we've created a way to keep our content organized with the channel. Let's next figure out how to get that content to students. Now you may be saying, now wait a minute, we haven't created any content yet. We'll come back to that, but you'll see why it's important to set this up ahead of time and to basically allow your students to watch this content. So what I need to do is I need to get my Mediasite content into Canvas. So I'm going to come back to Mediasite, or I'm currently in the Mediasite portal. I'm still within my course. I'm actually going to leave the My Mediasite portal, and I'm going to click on Modules in Canvas. So I don't have any modules, but this is a pretty bare bones course because this is usually what we use for training. So hopefully yours looks a little more elaborate than mine. But the idea behind Canvas modules is that you create these modules and then you put content into those modules, and then students work through the modules in a progressive fashion. So what I want to do is I want to create a module that's just for my Mediasite videos. So I'm going to click Add Module, and I'll give the module a name. So we'll just say something like My Recordings. And I'll click Add Module. So now I have a module that's going to be dedicated for the recordings that I create for this course. To insert the Mediasite content, I actually need to put that into a page within the module. So you've got a module that's kind of like your chapter, and then you'll have pages within that module. And you can put other things in modules too, like quizzes and assignments, but for inserting Mediasite content, you're going to want to create a page. So next to the module name, come over here to the right, there's this plus sign. You'll click the plus sign, and that's going to allow you to add an item to the module. We want to add a page. I don't have an existing page for it yet, so I'm going to choose New Page. And then I'll create a name for the page, Mediasite Videos. And then I'll click Add Item. So now we see we have My Recordings and we have Mediasite Videos. You'll notice these are not published yet. If you want your students to see them, you'll need to click over here to publish them. Now we've got the green check marks, and both the module and the page are published. The students can see those things now in the Canvas course. We still don't have Mediasite content into the Canvas course. So inside this page, I'll click in here. You see, this is just an empty page. We don't have anything in it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to embed the Mediasite channel we created earlier into this page in Canvas. So I'll click Edit. And so this is the rich content editor in Canvas. I'll just click in the editor area here. And what I want to do next is I want to find this little blue down arrow. It's a really nondescript thing in Canvas, but it says More External Tools. I'll click there. And this is a list of all the external tools that you can use and add in Canvas. So Mediasite is one of the options. We'll choose Mediasite. So Mediasite's going to ask, well, what do you want to add to your page? Do you want to add an existing presentation? Do you want to add a collection of videos? Or do you want to just upload a brand new video and insert it into this page? Well, the Mediasite channel is a form of video collection, right? So you've got shared folders that you can request administratively, or you've got the Mediasite channels that you can create on your own. Those are both types of collections, so I'll want to choose collection. You can see it's showing my most recent collections. If I wanted to search for a collection, I could. If I wanted to find all the collections I have access to, I can just enter an empty search query. I just hit the return key. Now it shows all of the collections. In this case, for this demo, I just have the one channel that I already created. So what I want to do is I want to add this to my page, and I'll choose Embed. When I embed it, it means when people, or when my students visit the page within Canvas, it will automatically show them the Mediasite channel inside the page. So we'll click Embed. And so now Canvas has gone out, it's grabbed that Mediasite channel, and it's pulled it into the page. Now, it doesn't look very impressive right now because we're still in the editor. But if we save, now you can see I've got my Canvas page, and inside the Canvas page, I have embedded my Mediasite channel. And the idea behind this is that you can now tell your students, go look at the Mediasite recordings module and go to this page, and anytime I upload content into my Mediasite channel, it's going to appear on this page automatically. So just to reiterate that, if I go back to modules, there are three things going on here. We have a module. Within the module, we have a page. And within that page, we've embedded the Mediasite channel that we created earlier. So that's how you can quickly add Mediasite content to Canvas and have your students be able to see it. But we haven't created any Mediasite content yet. So the next thing I want to talk about is how to install and record with the Mediasite Desktop Recorder. Let's first start with the installation process. Actually, let's first talk about what is Mediasite Desktop Recorder. I have a slide for this. Aha. So the Mediasite Desktop Recorder software, sometimes it's called MDR. It is a free software that you install on your PC or your Mac, and that can be on a desktop or a laptop, and allows you to capture any combination of your screen, microphone, and webcam. Once you finish a recording, it will automatically upload that recording into Mediasite. So we're going to demo that today. Just a note as far as the PC or Mac requirements, if you're using a Windows machine, that can be Windows 7, Windows 8, or Windows 10. If you're using a Mac, you can use that on Mac OS 10.13, 10.14. But if you're running the latest version of the Mac operating system, which is 10.15, otherwise known as Catalina, unfortunately, Catalina is not yet compatible with the Mediasite Desktop Recorder software. So if you're trying to capture your desktop, you'll need to find alternate means until the software is released to update and become compatible with Catalina. But so maybe what you want to do in that case, for if you're a Catalina user in the Mac OS environment, maybe you want to just record using Zoom. So that may be an alternative to using the Mediasite Desktop Recorder for that. But if you're not on Catalina, should be fine. So let's take a look at the Mediasite portal again. So you see right now I'm currently in my pages. I want to go back to my Mediasite portal. So I go down to this My Mediasite navigation item, and I'll click into that. This will load the My Mediasite portal inside your Canvas course. Again, this is where you go to manage your media. And to install the desktop recorder, you first need to click Add Media, which is up here at the top right. Well, this is my first time. I want to download the Mediasite Desktop Recorder. So I'll click this link here in the middle of the screen. This brings me to the download page. You can see there's 3 steps for installation. First, you have to download the installer. We'll have to install the recorder, which means running that installer. And then finally, we'll come back to this page and confirm and register by clicking that button. So I have actually already downloaded and installed. I've already done these first 2 steps on this computer, so I won't be demoing that today. But it has detected I have a Windows machine, so it's offering that as a download. So I'll click download. It's going to download the file. Again, I've already installed the desktop recorder on this computer, so won't be going through the installation, but it's your standard installer. You open up this file, it'll run you through some prompts. You just click through them. Your desktop recorder is installed, pretty much like any other piece of software you've installed on your computer. Once that's done and you've completed step 2, come back to this web page. So leave this page open, come back to it. You'll want to click the register button. When you register your connection with the Mediasite server, what you're doing is you're saying that this software install belongs to my Mediasite account, so that when you go into the software and record with it, it will upload your content into your account. So it's making that account software association. So I'll click register. It's going to open the Mediasite Desktop Recorder software, and you can see it's successfully registered with the server. So I'm good to go. I can confirm that because I can see up here my username. So the software's installed, it's registered with the server, we're ready to record. So I'll close the software for now, and I'll basically go back to the My Mediasite portal here. So yeah, double clicked. So we're back at our My Mediasite portal, and I want to record a presentation. So now we're at the recording part. So I want to record a presentation into my channel. So I'm going to go into my channels listing. I'm going to go to my K-State 101 channel for my course. Again, this is where you're going to want to upload your Mediasite content. So I'm in my my channel. I can see I don't have any videos in the channel. Let's go make one. Once again, I'm going to come up to Add Media. And in this case, I want to record my desktop. So I want to record my desktop now is the option I'll choose, the one to the left. I'll click that and it's going to say, I want a name. I want to know where you're going to put it. So we'll give this presentation a name. Let's just call it Lesson 01. And you can see because I navigated into my channel folder before I clicked Add Media, it's automatically selected my channel for me. If you didn't do that step, don't worry, you can always click Change and go navigate to your channel and select it from the list. But in this case, I like it in this channel, so I'm going to click Create and Launch. So this is going to create an empty presentation shell on the server, and you can see it's now loaded that presentation into my desktop recorder software on my computer. So I can confirm here, the presentation name is Lesson 01. And at this point, we need to make some decisions about what we're going to record. So there are 6 options here that you can choose from. There's 2 pages, each with 3 options. And we have a how-to page on our website. Let me just pop over to it real quick. So here's the help and training website for Mediasite. So kstate.edu/Mediasite/help. I'll come down to these how-to documents. You can see there's lots of different information about how to access the My Mediasite portal. There is a specific one for creating content called Capture Your Desktop using Mediasite Desktop Recorder. And on this page, we have a description of all 6 of these recording options. So if you want to learn more about, what should I pick, come to this page. There's advice about which option you should pick as far as how you're going to record your content. For our purposes today, I'm just going to choose screencast and video. So what that means is I'm going to record my screen as full motion, and then I'm going to record my webcam. That's my video. And so I can select that option and choose Next. So this is where I would set up my hardware. It looks like I'm in good shape so far. I can see my webcam, hello, and I can also see that it's picked up my microphone. If I wanted to change those inputs, I could change it by just clicking on the drop-down arrow and changing it in the list. If you need to modify any audio properties, you don't necessarily need to. It would be a rare circumstance if you had to go in and change your audio properties, but there's a shortcut here to open your sound control panel on your computer. So far we've done steps 1 and 2. We've selected the type of recording we want to make, and then we've set up the hardware that we're going to use to make the recording. So I'll click Next. Now it's going to ask me, well, what area of the screen do you want to record? So I could choose to just record a specific region of the screen. So I could just click that and then drag and select a particular region. I could also, get back to it here, choose a particular application window. So if I wanted to record just a specific application, I could click Window and then click on the application I wanted to record, and it would automatically snap that bounding box to that application. What I want to do today is I just want to record my entire desktop, because what I intend to do is just record my PowerPoint full screen. So what I'll just do is choose Desktop, and I'll choose this desktop. So you can see which source or which desktop I've selected there, and then I can just click the green check mark to confirm my selection. Okay, I'll turn that back on so that we can demo it. So we've selected what type of recording we're doing. We've set up our hardware. We've defined our capture area for our desktop. Now we are at our last point before we start recording. This is the last stop. So just confirm my settings. I'm going to be recording my screen. I'm going to be recording my camera. My microphone's on, and it will automatically upload this recording once it's finished. The only other checkbox that we need to review is this one down here, Show Recording Control Panel. So this little box over here is the recording control panel. If you have multiple screens, I would advise sliding this window over to the screen you're not recording. When you do that, you will see a preview of your webcam and your audio levels as you're recording. You can also have options for pausing and finishing the recording in this MDR preview. Because I'm just using one screen today, I don't want that window to appear in my recording. So I'm going to uncheck the recording control panel, and that will cause that window to go away. But I still want to be able to pause my recording so that I can take a break while I'm recording. So to pause, I'm going to ask you to remember one hotkey combination, and that is Control F8. So for a Mac, it's Command F8. So when I press Control F8 during recording, that's going to bring up a dialog box. It will pause my recording, and it will give me the option to either discard the existing recording and just start over. It will give me an option to resume the recording, or I can finish the recording. So remember, Control F8 when you're recording is an easy way to pause your recording. So you'll want to hold down Control, press F8. You see this little record button down here in the lower right corner. Once I click the record button, it's going to give me a countdown from 5. So it'll count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Once that countdown goes away, you'll be recording. So I said again, this is the last step before I actually start recording, so I want to get my PowerPoint ready. So I'll come down, I've already got my PowerPoint open, I just need to start the presentation mode. You'll notice that the Mediasite Desktop Recorder control is now floating on top of the other windows on your computer. So I'll just click Start PowerPoint, or Start the slideshow. Hang on one second. Got to correct something on my screen. Let me get out of this real quick. Have to tell it to use a different monitor. Okay, let's try this again. Now I'm going to try to start my slideshow. There we go. Now I can see I still have the desktop recorder controls on top of my PowerPoint here, but that's going to go away once I click the record button. But I've got my PowerPoint loaded up, ready to go. So let's click record and try recording. So there's 5, 4, 3, 2, and now I'm recording. So at this point, you can use PowerPoint just like you've always used PowerPoint, and click to the next slide. This is just a little presentation about K-State. I can talk about how it was founded in 1863 and it has campuses in Manhattan, Salina, and Olathe. I can go to the next slide, talk about the various majors and options and programs at K-State. Let's say I get to the point in my presentation where I need to take a break. I'll hit Control F8. So hold down Control, press F8. You can see I have this recording paused dialog box that appears. So I am not currently recording, but I am presented with some options here. I can either discard the recording and just start over. That'll take me back to the settings where I choose my desktop capture area and set up my hardware, all that good stuff. So I could discard it. I could resume the recording. So just take a quick drink here. I've got my caffeine, and I am actually going to do that now. I could also finish the recording. Want to caution you against finishing the recording too early, because once you click finish recording, you can't go back and record and add to it. You could start a new recording, but you can't like add to the one you've already created. So if you're pausing with the intent of resuming, make sure you choose resume recording. You can also see a capture duration down here. So if you're recording for a while, you pause for a while, you start recording again, you pause again. This capture duration is a good way to keep track of your total capture time. It gives you an idea of how long your presentation actually will be. So I'll click resume recording, and I'll advance to my next slide. Talk about the various colleges at K-State. And let's say that I'm done with my presentation now. I'm ready to stop recording. Once again, I'll remember my hotkey, Control F8. That brings up the controls again. And this time I want to choose finish recording. So you can see now Mediasite is automatically uploading that presentation. It verified the upload, and now I can see the status is uploaded. It even offers me an option to open the presentation down here. So what will happen at this point, I'll go ahead and close out of all of this and go back to my browser. So what will happen now is this presentation will start processing on Mediasite. So it's going to take all those files that you just uploaded with the desktop recorder software, and it's going to combine those into a Mediasite presentation. So I'm going to go back to my Mediasite portal here. You can see lesson 01, which is what we just created, that's now currently working. I can click into that and see more information about that presentation. Once that is done working, you'll get a preview image here, and it will give you the opportunity to preview your video. How long this takes to process really depends on how long your presentation recording is. The one I just created, it's only about 45 seconds long. It's not going to take long to process at all. Famous last words, live demo. Okay, here we go. So here's our presentation. You can see it's been recorded. I can preview it right here from within the My Mediasite portal. And there's your preview. And so once I decide, okay, I'm happy with that recording, I don't want to go back and re-record, I don't want to perform any sort of edits or anything like that, I'm ready to actually publish this out to my students, I need to go change the visibility of the presentation. So anytime you upload content to Mediasite, whether it's with the desktop recorder software or just uploading a video file directly to Mediasite, once that video is done processing, Mediasite will set the visibility of that presentation to private. That means that only you as the owner can watch that video. If your students try to watch it, they're going to get an error message. So before this video will be displayed to students in my channel, I need to go change the visibility of this presentation. There are several ways to set the visibility. From right here within the presentation summary, I can choose Edit Details here in the right column. Once I click Edit Details, that allows me to do things like change the title. If I wanted to change the date it was recorded or any of this metadata, I could change that. But what I really want to check is the visibility, and that's where I could change it from private to viewable. Once you set it viewable, your students will be able to see it in your Mediasite channel. So we'll save. The presentation should now be viewable. The other easy way you can set your presentation to be viewable in Mediasite, I'm going to go back to my channel here and go back to K-State 101. So if you're just looking at a list of the presentations, you can see this little lock icon, and you can see it's currently set to viewable. You can toggle that just by clicking on it. So now if I click it, you see the icon's now locked, and it's now private. So that's another easy way to change your visibility without going through all the menus. You can just click this lock icon. Okay, so now I have it set to viewable. That means if I go back to my modules in Canvas and I tell my students, okay, go to the My Recordings module and watch my new video, they can just go to this page within the module, and this is what your students will see. They see the channel with the video. So they can just click the video and begin playback. So here you can see, okay, it captured the screen, it captured my webcam. If I want to switch which one was bigger, I can do that. If I want to focus on one, I can click it. So that is the Mediasite channel player that is within your Canvas page, that is within your module in Canvas. I hope that makes sense to understand how that all works. If not, let me know, we can go over it again. So at this point, I have successfully installed the desktop recorder, I made the recording, and I uploaded and published that recording into my Canvas course. So let's talk about the other way you can get content into Mediasite, and that is, just by uploading an existing video file to Mediasite. If you didn't want to mess with Mediasite Desktop Recorder, if you just, for example, recorded something with Zoom, or you had a Zoom meeting you wanted to record, or you had recorded and just wanted to upload, or maybe, for example, you used Camtasia to create a piece of video, or maybe you're more versed in the editing tools and you use something like Adobe Premiere. Doesn't matter the tool, you can take those video files and upload them into Mediasite. So let's look at how to do that. Come back to my web browser here. I'm going to come back to my Mediasite portal. And just like we did before, I'm going to navigate to my channel. So K-State 101, this is where I want to put my content. So once I'm here, I'll click Add Media, top right. And instead of recording my desktop, I want to come to the option on the far right that says I want to upload a file from my computer. I'll click that. Now it's going to open up a file chooser on my computer. And let's say I wanted to record a Zoom meeting. So Zoom meetings are in your documents by default, by the way. This is the default location. If you've customized this folder, you'll need to go to the path you've specified. But once I'm in my documents, I'll scroll down, I'll find the Zoom folder, and here's a list of all my recorded Zoom meetings. So let's say I wanted to upload the video file from this Zoom recording. I'll click into that folder. I see all these options. I'll want to pick the MP4 file. The MP4 is the video file. So it's usually the largest one too. So I'll choose the zoom0.mp4 and I'll click open. Just like before, it'll ask for a name. So we'll say this is my Zoom recording. I could provide an optional description. I can see it's going to go into my K-State 101 channel. So I'll click Create Presentation. Now what will happen is you can see it uploading that file into Mediasite. You want to make sure that little blue bar you briefly saw goes all the way to 100% and it actually begins, or at least queues for processing. If you navigate away from this page and go somewhere else before that blue bar reaches all the way to the end and starts working, you'll have to start over with that upload. It'll essentially say it was abandoned. So once it starts working, I can leave my Mediasite, I can go back to my modules, I can work on my other Canvas content. I don't have to stick around and wait for it to process in the web page. When it's done processing, I will get an email that says, hey, this video is ready to be reviewed. And then at that point, I can come back to my My Mediasite portal and review the recording, make sure it looks good. And then just like we did for the desktop recording, I'll want to make sure that the visibility is set to viewable. And once that occurs, you'll be able to come back to the modules, go to your Mediasite videos inside Canvas, and you'll see that it hasn't happened yet because it's not done processing. But once it is done processing and set viewable, it will appear for your students right here. So I hope that's at least clear as mud as far as how to get a recorded video that you created outside of Mediasite, how to get it into Mediasite, and consequently into your Canvas content for your students to see. Okay, I think that is all I had for today's presentation. We'll open it up for questions. Just again, wanted to plug the website, kstate.edu/Mediasite. I know I went too fast for some of you to actually follow along and click along. What I would encourage you to do is to either watch this recording or go out to the K-State Mediasite website. We actually have step-by-step how-tos for all of the things we've talked about today. So again, that's kstate.edu/Mediasite. There's a how-to section that walks you through all of the various things we've talked about and more. So with that, Janice, do we have any questions that have popped up today? I assume we have.
Yes, Brandon, we do have a couple questions. And I've been recording those here on a Word document. I'm going to give you 3 of them, and then there's several others that are coming in here at the end.
Okay.
So the questions were, can I use Mediasite for iPad Pro? And then can students download videos on Mediasite or from Mediasite? And then Trina would like to have you address the Publish to Go feature.
Okay. Sure. So let's answer the iPad Pro question first. I don't believe so because there is not a desktop recorder client for iOS. So you couldn't necessarily use Mediasite Desktop Recorder on your iPad. However, if you just recorded a video with your iPad, I know there's some screen capture applications out there for iPad, or you could just use your webcam if you're recording yourself. You can take the video that you recorded on your iPad and upload it to Mediasite using the same method we just described to take the file and just upload it in. So there is no desktop recorder client for iOS, but there are ways to get a recording from your iPad into Mediasite. I believe the next question you said was about downloading.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, allowing students to download content. It's a big topic. In fact, so big, we actually have an upcoming webinar coming up on, I believe it's next Monday at 10 a.m., where we're going to talk about how you go about allowing your students to download content. So definitely tune in to that. Again, that information on that webinar is out on the K-State Mediasite website as well, under the webinar series. So we actually have on March 23rd, 10 a.m., there's a Zoom link there to join us for information on how to download Mediasite content. I'll give you the Cliff's Notes version. It is possible to let students download content. What you need to do is you need to set a delivery method. So bear with me. You're probably going to have to watch this recording to actually keep up with it here, but I'm going to go into my Mediasite portal again. Okay, so that Zoom recording's still working, so we'll just keep working with our lesson 01 here. So I'll click on that. So there are two things that have to occur in order for students to be able to download a video. First, you have to set a delivery method on your presentation. So right now, without any delivery methods configured, there's nothing to download. So I'll want to click Edit Details on the right side here. And then this tab down below says Delivery. So there's all kinds of delivery methods here. The three we want to look at is podcast, vodcast, and publish to go. So I'm going to try to address publish to go here, that question at the same time. So a podcast is just simply audio only. So it's like you were creating an MP3 file. In fact, you are creating an MP3 file when you create a podcast. So that would be audio only. There wouldn't be any video associated with it. If you wanted to do a video podcast, or what they call a vodcast, you can select vodcast, and there's a couple of different choices here. You can either do just the regular vodcast MP4 file, or you can choose to have it without the little banner that displays at the top. So those are your options there for creating a vodcast. So when you create a vodcast, or when you choose this option, Mediasite will actually go and composite together a single MP4 file of your Mediasite presentation, and that will be what your students end up downloading. The third type of delivery, so we have audio only and audio plus video. The third type is a publish to go. So publish to go is it's a zip file package. So your students would download the publish to go package from the Mediasite channel, and then they would extract that zip file on their computer. So that zip file is going to have all of the different player components and media components in it to play back locally on their computer as though they were watching it live online. I personally like the publish to go method because it really does support that in-player experience. It looks just like you were watching it online. If you had captions on your presentation, those will display, whereas you don't get that sort of metadata with either of these other two methods. So publish to go is nice in that it really replicates the online version of the presentation experience, whereas the others, you're just watching either a single video or just an audio file. One consideration for publish to go as an option for allowing your students to download content is that if a student is on a mobile device, so they're on iOS, or they're on an Android phone, those zip files don't play nice with those types of mobile devices. They really need to be on like a laptop or a desktop so that they can actually extract that zip content and watch it. So consideration there, if you have students that you think are going to be primarily using mobile devices, which in today's day and age is very possible with displacement occurring due to COVID, you might want to choose vodcast as an option there if you're allowing your students to download. One other caveat on allowing students to download is that once you do that, you are essentially losing control of that content, because once the student downloads that video file, you have no control over it. They can do with it whatever they want. You can't stop them. So from an intellectual property perspective and maintaining control of your content, think twice about actually allowing them to download your Mediasite content. If you're cool with them actually having a local copy of it and knowing that there's a possibility it might get out into the wild, that's your prerogative, but just be aware that you are losing some element of control by allowing students to download. So for that reason, we have a lot of instructors that just opt to say, stream it online only. In this case, I'm just going to choose, let's choose publish to go, because that's one I can show quickly. So I've selected this delivery method. I'm going to click save. And now I'm back at my presentation. So I've added the delivery method. I said there were two things that had to be true. So we've got the delivery method down. So there's now a way to download, or there is something to download from your presentation. Now we need to make sure that your channel is configured to show those download links. So I'm going to come back to my channels. I'm going to go to my K-State 101 channel. I'm going to go to, let me see if I remember this correctly, edit. So once I'm in the edit mode, again, that's my channel name. I could change all of this stuff. All the way down here at the bottom, we can see the channel functionality. So most of this you're not going to care about, like the show top banner or show log on controls. If you wanted to allow students to share that content, you could allow them to share it. I'm actually going to come down here because what I can the option I care about is the allow presentation download option. That has to be checked in order for those links to appear in the channel. So even if you have a delivery method set, let's say you've got a publish to go set up on the presentation, the download link won't display unless this is enabled. So I'll make sure that's checked. I'll save the channel settings, and the channel settings are now saved. So let me go back out to the Canvas modules. Again, this is where your students would go to look for your Mediasite videos. I'll go back to that page that I embedded the channel into. We still just have the one video, the other one's still processing. So I'll click into it as a student. You see now there's this download to computer option that appears below the presentation player. And so you can click download to computer. Here's the publish to go option. If you had a vodcast or a podcast delivery configured, those options would be displayed here as well to give the students the option of what they wanted to download. Publish to goes, by the way, are not created until you actually request them. So I'll click create publish to go. It's going to make that file. Once that file is created, it'll show up here as a download option. You can actually download the file. So that is enabling, yes, allow files. That is enabling publish to go and allowing presentation download on your Mediasite channel. So here's an example of what that zip file looks like. I would actually have to extract this to my computer to watch it, but if they open that default.html, it's going to open up the Mediasite player, and it'll just look like that same experience as if you were playing it online in your browser, except you'll just be watching a local copy. That was it was more long-winded than I wanted that to be, so sorry if that was confusing.
Okay, Brandon, thanks. We have a few other questions. Some of the other questions are, when we have multiple Canvas courses, do we have one Mediasite area that has videos for all courses, or does it show up separately for each Canvas course?
First of all, whoever asked that, gold star. That is an excellent question, and it is one that confuses the heck out of people that may not be familiar with it. So the answer is, no matter which course you're in Canvas, you're always going to the same My Mediasite portal. So for example, if I were in my Mediasite portal and I had created another channel, if I can get back to it here, let's say I had a K-State 201 course that I was also teaching. Whoops. Got to click on the right things. It's been a long week already. So click add channel. There we go. So KST 201. And I'll create that channel. So now I have two channels in my Mediasite portal. I still just have the one My Mediasite portal. So even though I'm in my K-State 101 course, I can see my K-State 201 channel, right? So you have multiple Canvas courses, and your course content is separate, but your Mediasite content is all still together.
Okay, great. The next question deals with, does Mediasite Mediasite Recorder work on an Android tablet?
It does not. So yeah, nope, just kind of like the iOS application, the Mediasite Desktop Recorder does not work on Android. However, there are several screen capture tools out there, and in fact, some of the tablet makers actually bundle their own screen recorder with their device. So I definitely Google around in the Play Store and see what you can find that you like as far as the screen recorder software. Off the top of my head, I don't have any particular recommendations for that, but there are options to use a third-party screen recorder software on your Android device, take that recorded video, and then upload that video into Mediasite.
Okay, we have a couple questions related to PowerPoint files. There's two questions, two different questions. So one is, if a PowerPoint contains animations, will they play in the video? And the other question is, if a PowerPoint contains an embedded video or sound file, will it play in the video?
Okay, yes, both excellent questions. Let's address the first one. If you have animations in your PowerPoint file, I'm unmuted, right? Okay, yes. If you have animations in your PowerPoint file, will those display in the recorded Mediasite video? The answer is maybe. So that goes back to talking about your types of video recordings. I'm going to go back to that those list of 6 options. So remember, when we're in our desktop recorder software, we're going to have we're going to have those 6 options. I guess I need to update my screenshots. Let me use the live version here. Remember, you'll have the 6 options. So that's slideshow plus audio, screencast plus audio, just your audio, screencast plus your webcam, slideshow plus your webcam, or just your webcam. What we need to look at when we're talking about animations is the difference between a screencast capture and a slideshow capture. And I actually have a slide on that. Let's see if I can. So when you're recording a screencast, that is recording full motion video. So if you have animations, if you're annotating on top of your presentation, anything that contains motion on your screen, you'll want to use the screencast option when you're capturing. And so that will provide that smooth playback. Conversely, if you have a static PowerPoint, let's say you don't have any animations, you're not doing any annotation on the screen, you're just advancing through your slides, the slideshow option is a neat thing you can use, because it doesn't actually capture full motion video. It just takes a screenshot anytime it sees enough of a change on the screen. So it's great for low bandwidth situations where your users or your students may not have enough bandwidth to stream a full motion video, but they do have enough bandwidth to every once in a while just load the static JPEG image inside the player. You can get in trouble with that if you try using a slideshow for content that has a lot of animation, or full motion, because what it'll do is it'll take a bunch of snapshots all at once, and then the student was going to have to try to download all those static JPEG slides. So definitely you want to use the correct setting for the correct type of content. So yes, if you're using screencast, that will capture your animations and your or any sort of motion you have on the screen, but slideshow will not. To the second question, will it capture embedded PowerPoint video? Again, I think the answer is kind of. So if you're using a screencast, it will capture the video or the image of the YouTube video or whatever video is embedded in the PowerPoint. What you won't get is the audio from that video. Remember, the Mediasite Desktop Recorder is not necessarily recording all of your computer's audio, it's just recording the audio that's coming through your microphone. So that is something to bear in mind if you're using a video that has sound and you need the students to see the sound. It's best to just include that video as a separate item, either in Mediasite, or you can just link to it directly on your Canvas course.
Okay, Brandon, we have a couple more questions, and you might have addressed these, but how does the file size affect the viewability for the students? And is there an existing file size limit to upload on Mediasite? And is the MP4 the only file type that Mediasite can use?
Wonderful questions once again. Okay, so let's start with how does the file size affect the playback for the student? So when you're in Mediasite and you're uploading a file, Mediasite's going to take that video file and it's going to conform it to several different resolutions. So when you upload a video file to Mediasite, you're actually going to create multiple copies of that video on Mediasite at various quality levels. And then your students, as they're playing that back, their browser is smart enough to know what sort of internet capability they have. So if they have less bandwidth, they're going to get a lower resolution version of that video. If they have more bandwidth, they'll get the higher resolution versions. So as far as the effect of the file size or the quality of your video, I would say upload the quality you can, as high as quality as you can, and then let Mediasite take care of the rest as far as what quality to deliver to the student. One thing to note, Mediasite does not handle 4K video very well just yet. It's kind of hit and miss. So the recommendation is to try to record your content in 1080p at the highest, which would be a full HD video. But I know there's a lot of new phones out there that are starting to record 4K and even 8K content. Mediasite is sort of a lecture capture tool. It's not really designed to handle that just yet, although it is on the product roadmap. So yeah, that was addressing quality and file size. There really isn't any sort of a file size cap. At some point, it's just going to become untenable to push that much data over your internet connection. But yeah, no, there's multiple gigabyte files that get uploaded to Mediasite daily, so no real concern there. As far as file types, yeah, I talk a lot about MP4. So MP4 is sort of the standard, widely accepted format for a video file. But Mediasite can accept other forms of video, and so if you have a .mov file, which is something the Mac will often turn out, especially if you're using QuickTime. If you have an AVI file, which is more native to Windows, there are a variety of formats that Mediasite will accept. Now, some of the codecs that are used within those video formats, it can be a little iffy on the combinations, but in general, yes, Mediasite can accept MP4, AVI, MOV, and several other formats. But if you have the option, choose MP4. It's going to be your least problematic. Did I miss any of those? I think we had maybe one I might have missed.
That last question, and you touched on it, I think, a little bit, but it says, what is the difference between recording Windows versus recording desktops? Is one better than the other? And if we need to switch files like a PDF, a PowerPoint, etc., during the recording?
Right. Okay. So yeah, so I think what we're talking about here is where you select your capture area, right? So I'll just pretend we're doing this. So you can just select window and then select an application window. So if I don't have a great example. So if I just have my Explorer window here, whoops, Windows is trying to do smart things. So if I just have my Explorer window open, get all this back open here again, I can choose window and then select just that window. So what that really is doing, that's just an easy way to draw a bounding box around that portion of the screen. Let's say I'm doing my recording and I move this window. The bounding box does not move. So really it's just sort of like a preset for your capture area. So if you're moving your screens around, probably not the best idea to use the window option. You're probably better off just recording your entire desktop at that point. The same could also be true if you're switching between multiple applications. You can't like change your capture area mid-capture. So if you're doing those kinds of things, or if you're unsure, the sort of the surefire, least problematic thing you can do is just to select your entire desktop. On that note, I've also had the question, can I record multiple desktops? And not currently, no. You have to pick one screen or the other.
Okay, Brandon, I do not have any other questions that I believe have come through, but we might want to open that up to the audience
Yeah, let me
to see if we addressed everything that they needed to have addressed.
Yeah, if anybody was uncomfortable typing and they just want to talk, I have enabled you to unmute your microphone, so you should be able to talk now if you wanted. I think everybody's hungry. They just want to go eat lunch. So.
I have one follow-up.
Sure.
If you create some existing videos that might be in Final Cut Pro, and then you've got do something on the iPad that captures the iPad, and you kind of put those together in Final Cut Pro, that output should be okay for Mediasite to upload, even if it's a large file. It just takes a long time to do it. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. Basically, the larger your file size or the more complex your video, the longer it's going to take to process in Mediasite. But yes, you can, as long as you get a single video file out of your editor system, it should go into Mediasite just fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Well, I don't know. It looks like, Brandon, that I've not gotten any more questions through the chat. I believe that, yep, no more questions that I have here.
I just have one question. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
After creating the video by using iPad Pro and then uploading that by using Mediasite, is there an option that the students cannot download that video?
Correct. Yeah. So by default, actually, they won't be able to download it unless you go back and add that delivery method. So yeah, they will be prevented. Yeah. Yeah, they can't download. That is actually one of the benefits of using Mediasite, is you can actually upload those video files, and unlike Canvas, where you can actually get at the file and download it, Mediasite will obscure that.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
I have a follow-up as well. I know you addressed this, but I didn't quite catch that. Did you say that we don't really need to worry about configuring the size and quality of the recording, and students on device would kind of pick up depending on their bandwidth?
Right. Yeah. So Mediasite will do some automatic content delivery adjustments to accommodate those students. You don't need to create multiple versions.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I don't have any more here through the chat. Just to reiterate to everyone that Brandon and everyone behind the scenes here is willing and able to help you in any way that we can. So please, I can go back to the document or the links that I dropped in there earlier. We sure want to be there to assist you, and we've got multiple mechanisms that you can contact us. So I'll let Brandon wrap.
There we go. Those are all the links you need. And yeah, so we've got this recording is going to be out on the K-State teaching website, the Keep Teaching website, under the training materials, which is where you found this Zoom link today. Again, the Mediasite website, kstate.edu/Mediasite, a great place where you can go for the how-to documents. Everything we've talked about today is out there. And yeah, there's also support options. So if you need help, the kstate.edu/Mediasite will tell you, what your options for obtaining additional support are. So. With that, do you want to go ahead and wrap it up, Janice? Or?
Okay. Yes. So I just reposted again the information about where to go to find the resources. The Keep Teaching website, our GCID .ksu.edu. If you have an additional question, please don't hesitate to send an email to that. Our instructional designers are monitoring that frequently. And then we also have the K-State Help Desk that will help you. And please keep coming back to check out the K-State Teaching Training Sessions pages. And like Brandon said, the videos will be posted out there once we get those back or rendered. I'm not sure what the exact term is to use there from Zoom, but
let me give you guys a shortcut. So if you want the Cliffs Notes version of today's presentation, and you don't want to wait for this recording, if you go out to kstate.edu/Mediasite, there is a pre-recorded version of this same content, without all the questions, obviously, but it's this one down here called Crash Course Mediasite Orientation. So if you wanted to go back right now and start watching again, that's one place you can go watch this content. So sorry, Janice, you can. Sorry, didn't
That's
want to
great.
interrupt.
Perfect. No, thank you. Yes, great information. Well, we thank you all again for attending, and like I say, we're here to help. So we'll let Brandon get this saved so that we can get it pulled up.
All righty. Thank you all again for attending. Janice, thank you for moderating today. It's very helpful.